Previously on D&D Kinda.
Francis is my name, and I will be brief. You are bound in blood. You are a part of this, whether you like it or not.
They told us a message of the dark man that was our father, named Lokar the Malevolent. They managed to kill him, but they had only succeeded in destroying his physical body, his soul retiring to the astral plane, waiting, gaining power, gathering followers, to one day return to our world and possess a new host.
We'd spent the majority of our time together hunting those followers, slaying, killing, interrogating along the way, trying to find any information we could about our father.
Topher, you hear people charging up the stairs and shoving doors open. They're wearing somewhat of a necklace, and it has a giant purple gemstone in it. You hear, by the order of Lokar the Malevolent, we order you to stand down. And you hear Chrysalix yell, run!
Baal is returning. His agents of darkness have begun to scour the earth for the bearers of the ancient seals that banished him.
The dragon grabs Aisha and flips her into the air. The dragon snaps her in his mouth, crushes her beneath his teeth, and swallows her whole.
I found a book, and inside of it I found his name, Cthulhu. I began to absorb all the language and feeding an inner demon that I wasn't aware that I had even had.
The blood from Bartholonude's wound fell into the pool of blood surrounding him.
What have you done? The seal is broken.
A blinding flash of light struck the ground as Frances staggered backwards, dropping several items from her pockets. The portal opened. A large man leaned through and wrapped his arm around Frances's neck. He smirked, looking towards Benedict and Hamilton, and said,
My, how you both have grown. You make your father proud.
He fell back into the portal, and he and Frances were gone. Everyone is standing in this almost like a semicircle. Meteors are still dropping from the sky, and the earthquake has just stopped, and Lokar just disappeared with Frances. You guys saw this ring of keys just hit the ground. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that just happened. You guys are, I'd imagine, it's pretty distraught. I want to ask everyone how everyone's kind of feeling about the situation. You guys just learned that the seal was broken despite your efforts. Frances was taken by Benedict and Hamilton's father. I want to kind of start with you guys. How are you guys feeling about this? This is some heavy shit that you guys are in the middle of.
Benedict is angry. Very mad.
So, like, what kind of, like, sparks your anger? Kind of give me, like, the... Go ahead.
Dad. Lokar sparked my anger.
No, I mean, like, what was it that, like, got you going? So, obviously, like, Lokar showed up. Is that specifically just what got you mad, is the fact that he showed up, or?
Yeah, that, and then this, like, despite our efforts in Vice 1 and Aisha's, like, possibly dead. Well, definitely dead. I mean, we all just killed this dragon, and the seal was still broken. And then on top of that, Pops shows up, takes our friend. I'm mad about it.
You gonna cry?
I might. Actually cry.
That's a lot of stuff. Hamilton, how are you feeling about this? Because I know, like, you're usually pretty disconnected from a lot of stuff emotionally, just given
A little disconnected.
Well, I mean, just given Hamilton's, like, his past. He was an orphan. He was abandoned by, in the beginning, what he thought was his mom and his dad.
I mean, I would abandon him too.
And he clung to like old gods and stuff like that to seek some kind of sense of belonging. So I'd imagine, I just want to know, like, where he is emotionally with this.
So I would say that Hamilton is actually pretty stoked about this, because all of his life he has kind of seen this coming. Like, he has expected that there would be a final showdown, and this is what he's been preparing for this whole time. Like, that's why he ran to the old gods and started studying, dark stuff and trying to make himself as powerful as he could at every turn, because he expected this final showdown was eventually going to materialize. So for him, it's kind of like everything has been worth it. Like all of his sacrifice and hard work and everything, like he feels like there's a culmination approaching.
So he's maybe not. Oh, it's worth it, but he feels vindicated in like his.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like all of his long nights of studying and traveling the world and finding all of the information and knowledge that he could to try to best his father, because he kind of expected that his father was too powerful and he would never stay banished forever. Mm-hmm. So
okay.
And all the
it's kind of been like the pivotal aspect of his life, like has always been the eventual showdown with his pops.
So would you classify this as kind of like bittersweet? Because I would imagine you're not pumped about the fact the seal was broken anyway. Like, how do you feel about that portion of it? Because that's a relatively large piece of this. Because regardless of your father actually showing up, there's still like this looming piece of like Baal eventually returning, and this is one of the major components of holding him back. Just it fell in his favor.
I wouldn't say that it's bittersweet. I would say that for Hamilton, it's almost kind of like he puts on a show as though he's disappointed by this, but he's actually like not all that disappointed, because Baal coming back kind of lines up with his whole thing. Like he kind of sees this as an opportunity for him to become more powerful.
Fuck your friends, right? It's cool.
Well, I mean, we're going to kill him. Like, if he does come back, we're going to kill him. And then it's just going to make Hamilton all the more powerful.
Okay. I got you. Bartholonude, how you feeling about this? So, obviously, Weisswein just kind of pulled you out of this, like, blind rage that you were in. The Golden Clan Elder is dead. This is prior to you guys... This is not prior, but you guys have searched through the Golden Clan Elder's stomach. You guys found Aisha dead within his stomach. She is gone, so that happened. But there's a lot of good and a lot of bad in what just took place. And how does Bartholonude feel about everything?
Right now in Bartholonude's heart, he has a void where a sense of accomplishment should be, because something that's troubled him his entire life, being snatched as an egg and brought up in the wrong place by the wrong people, treated wrong his entire life, neglected for his race. He right now is at basically the tipping point of what could be considered the thing he's always wanted, to get revenge on the Golden Clan Elder and to bring justice to his name and to his clan. And just as that happens, it's like everything that we've worked for up until this point, it's been fruitless. In fact, we might have hurt things more than helped things because of our actions. So the adrenaline from that I got from going at the dragon was just invigorating. And anytime at the end of that would happen, you would expect some sort of accomplishment or some sort of sense of victory, and I don't have that. There's a lot of internal struggle going on right now. He's like contemplated his former follies and how the foundation of deceit in his entire life might have influenced his upbringing. And at times this burning rage of revenge, it just seeks justice to the wrongdoers of the world, or possibly even the world itself. At other times, it's like self-pity sits in. It's like it kind of segregates himself from his own actions. And it seems like he could say that his own thoughts are erroneous. Like, it's unnerving, but it's not. It's giving him a way to see things in a different way, and possibly a more despotic way. I think he's pretty down about all this.
And rightfully so. I mean, it's almost as if maybe part of the reason for him feeling that way is like, you found out that one of the reasons and one of the things that you were trying to prevent from happening, and the Golden Clan Elder had spent almost his entire life trying to achieve, turned into something that would alter the way the world operates, and potentially Baal returning, and the fact that you ended him, but it's still, I guess, it still assisted Baal in his return.
And just to kind of talk about how I'm trying to build Bartholonude a little bit. When we did some storyboarding for Bartholonude, we talked specifically about how there were times when he got this intense desire just to do something crazy. Like that would be the chaotic alignment.
Right.
Where like his actual clan is black, which is natively evil.
Right.
Gold is natively good. So being raised in a natively good clan, he was exposed to a lot of good things, which kind of seeded his positivity in wanting to seek the Paladin Order, which is how I'm a black dragon and a paladin and still have like some evil thoughts, but I'm still technically neutral. So I'm trying to justify my alignment and possibly even justify those random chaotic behaviors that kind of make me do weird things and kind of make me lash out because I have this internal struggle.
Gotcha. Topher, I would imagine that a lot of what's happening is kind of foreign to you. Everything has an attachment to you. Everything that has happened in the last couple days has an attachment to you only in the secondhand nature. Still, though, I mean, I'm imagining you're feeling the effects of all this, but I kind of want to gauge how you feel that Topher is handling or processing what's going on.
Let's say that I'm pretty aghast. Like, I'm a disciple of life. And that not so much the killing of the Golden Clan Elder, that didn't hit me, but watching Bartholonude with seeing Aisha is very, it's hard on me, I would say, because like I said, a disciple of life, like I'm like the cleric, like I do my best to preserve life. But there's also a part of me that is happy to see what has happened, not Aisha, but the Golden Clan Elder. There's a part of me that's happy to see that come to an end.
It's not all good. Like there's a lot of bad. That was a question. Is that what you mean? Like you're happy to see it, but it's very, I guess, not to be redundant, but bittersweet. Like
I wouldn't really say bittersweet. It's more like I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I mean, I enjoyed watching this beast die for some reason. I'm not sure why, but at the same time, just knowing that like I'm here to preserve life, it's conflicting. And the only thing that I can really think to do is console Bartholonude, because as a disciple of life, and I wasn't able to stop what had happened to Aisha, somebody from his past, somebody that he obviously cared about, even the slightest, however much he did care about her, and I wasn't able to actually help, and that falls on my shoulders, because that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
So I can kind of see, like, right now, something major has just happened to all of us, and we all kind of got into this together, like, in an ad hoc way, and we've all kind of been there for one another through many battles now. So, like, now that we kind of have an idea from, like, the storyboarding perspective of what our characters are feeling, like, I want to try to bring it more physical. Like, I become aware of, like, what people are doing, what Topher's doing, and like, his gestures are just kind of like, just the way he looks at me, it's kind of like he's wanting to make sure I'm okay, and I can kind of connect to that on a certain level. It kind of brings it back down to reality that, this might be bad, but we're still all alive, and we're still in this together.
I want to Actually, I want to walk over to Bartholonude. I'm assuming that you are probably like either on your knees or somewhere close to Aisha's body.
And I'm completely covered in a whole bunch of dragon blood.
I just
shit.
want to be next to him, and I want to put my hand on his shoulder and just silently pray for him, like just to Mishkal. Like I want to try to.
Excuse me, sir. Do you need urgent prayer?
I'm here for you.
But I want to show him that like that I do care, that I'm here,
Okay.
Not I don't want to say anything. I just want to put my hand on his shoulder and just,
And as he does, I kind of look up to him and I look over at Benedict and we kind of make eye contact and I just give him like a nod.
Okay.
Back.
So we're, just kind of making each other aware that we're still there for one another. And I think it's just one of those unspoken bonds that we've kind of formed, We didn't really talk about much how we were going to get involved this much in something that's so critical for all of Faerun. But now that we see the seriousness, it's now real to us. Before it was just talk.
Right. And that's one of the things I was going to bring up is like, whenever Francis told you guys that you guys had come so far and you guys had come so close, but the seal still broke. Like I imagine that had a pretty substantial impact on everyone. Like that didn't affect just you, Bartholonude. That was, you guys all agreed to this. You guys all had some part of your guys' fate has been tied to this. As Francis told you guys in episode 1, she told you guys are bound in blood for one reason or another.
My whole mindset of that is I'm not concerned with the fact that the seal was broken, because at this point in time, my mindset is on the people that I'm with and making sure that, not so much making sure, but like letting them know that I'm here for them regardless of the circumstances. Like my mind isn't set on the fact that we broke the seal, fuck, what are we going to do? But more of, we are together in this regardless of the circumstances, and I want them to know that. I want them to all feel that. I'm not saying anything, but I want them to know that, not that I don't care about the seal breaking, but that I care more about their well-being than anything. And I want to make sure that I kind of convey that through my actions of what I'm doing right now.
Okay. So the way I'm kind of imagining this scene going is that, obviously the dragon is laying there lifeless. People are kind of scattered around its body in one sense of the other. And Bartholonude, you and Weisswein are kind of standing near the body with Aisha, half of Aisha's body kind of pulled out of the side of this dragon, and she's dead. And you guys are kind of not necessarily paying your respects, but just kind of ingesting the idea that she is gone. More so Weisswein than you. But Topher, you're standing very close to Bartholonude, just kind of being there. He's already, verbalized the fact that he's aware and very cognizant of the fact that, like, the sacrifice that Hamilton and Benedict and yourself have made for his cause in one form or another, and he's aware of those things.
Is Chrysalix still there?
Well, I was getting ready to bring that up. Okay. So as you were standing there, you feel something hit your shoulder, and it's Chrysalix. And as you turn, Chrysalix is standing, and he's actually holding the keys that Francis threw back through the portal before she was taken. And he says, Topher, take this. Francis left it for you all. Use it well. And he kind of puts his bow over his back and kind of clips it back into his holster, and starts to walk away.
At this point, I would say that I'm probably really close to being in tears. Just because it's just overwhelming what just happened. Chrysalix, where will you stay with us? Will you help us?
Chrysalix kind of stops as he's already started to walk away, and he turns back around, and faces you full on and says, There are 9 seals to hold Baal in place. This is 1. This is 2. Without Francis, we don't know how many. She was the only one that held this information. Who knows? There could be 1 left. There could be 4 left. We don't know. I must continue my mission to find these things. For all of us being together is only going to hold us back in discovering what we need to know.
Before you go, do you have anything that you can share with us to help us? Because we are on the same journey. We're trying to stop Ball.
And
we need to stop Ball.
As he says this, I'm down on a knee and I'm holding my halberd. It's in the dirt. I kind of just go back from my knee to sitting on my butt, and then I just lay down on the ground and look up at the sky.
Okay.
As I'm speaking, as this is happening, I clip the keys to my belt that I've got around my waist, and then kind of probe him again, like,
Probe it.
Get probed, Chrysalix.
So Chrysalix kind of he looks at you, and you could tell that there's something that he wants to tell you, but he's holding back, and he doesn't say anything.
From my angle on the ground, I'm kind of looking up at the sky. There were a bunch of asteroids just moments ago that had flown through, and there's still slight trails of the smoke and of the crazy atmosphere that we're currently in. And I'm kind of taking it all in and kind of tuning into their conversation. I kind of noticed that hesitance. How far am I laying from Chrysalix right now?
I'd say probably like 15 feet.
Oh, really that far? I thought he was just touching.
He was,
Well,
but
I thought we were all
again,
just
he had
touching one
started
another.
to walk away.
Yeah, he turned to walk away.
All right.
I want to walk to Chrysalix because he turned around, and I want to just shake his hand. Like, I just want to do the whole shake his hand and wish him well on his journeys, and I hope that you find what you're looking for, and I hope that we can come to all meet up again. I hope that I see you again. I hope that our journeys, our paths cross again. And I hope that we can finish this together.
So when you say this, he latches onto your hand, kind of like a Viking handshake, I'm imagining, and he squeezes tightly, letting you know that he is as invested in this as you are.
I thank him.
Right.
Because I never thanked him before for what he did with saving me from the Forbidden Forest.
Okay. So he says, he looks at you and he kind of smiles and says, Christopher, our paths are far more entwined than you think. And nods his head and turns around and starts to walk away.
And we can hear that from that distance, right?
Yes, yeah. You guys, he's not hiding this conversation. You guys all hear this.
I nod, and then I turn back around to see Bartholonude laying on the ground.
Okay.
So we know that he's hiding something? Or that he's not telling us the whole truth?
I think that he's trying to protect us at this point. I don't really think that he's hiding anything just because of being facetious. I think he's actually trying to protect us. I think he knows something, but doesn't think that we are capable of doing what we need to do to finish it.
I got that too. I got that same vibe.
Yeah.
No, at first I kind of thought that I was close enough to kind of get a better sense of what his actual caricatures to understand more about that, but based off of the context, I think that that's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say,
and that's I don't want before you go. To Jed's point, I don't want it to seem like everyone's perceiving it that exact same way, because I know from Jed's, based on what Hamilton perceived this entire situation as somewhat of a good thing, I could potentially see that Hamilton might have perceived that kind of hesitancy to display information as not that it was bad, but it wasn't good as far as from Hamilton's perspective.
Yeah, I actually want to cast Charm Person on Chrysalix.
Okay, before you do that, I'm going to go back to what Josh was saying, because he spoke up there.
I want to tell him to research Lokar the Malevolent as much as he can, because that is not someone to be taken lightly. and I have a feeling that he has something to do with the next seal.
Chrysalix turns around and looks at you, Benedict, and he doesn't have really any ties to you or anything. I mean, that doesn't mean say that he's like being an asshole to you. He just turns around and looks at you and says, if Lokar could take Francis, no one to be trifled with.
Correct.
So does Chrysalix know Francis?
Yes. Well, at least you assume so based off of this interaction.
Interestingly.
So, you want to charm. You want to cast charm
I want to
person.
cast charm person on
Okay.
Chrysalix.
All right, so what is your, what do I need to roll against this?
You need to roll a wisdom save, and you need to beat a 14.
14. It's not going to work. That is a 7. So,
Fuck yeah.
I want you to kind of narratively explain this kind of scene that just happens right here.
So, I've kind of been over by the dragon, just listening to everything, haven't really spoken up, piped in, been really a part of it. I've just been observing all of this. And my ears kind of perk up as the conversation progresses because I can tell that it seems like Chrysalix is holding something back for whatever reason. So as he's walking away, I charm him and I walk over to him and I have him lean down and kneel down maybe would be a better way because I'm pretty far down. And I just kind of whisper in his ear and I ask him to tell me what it is that he's holding back.
Okay. So,
with the intention that if necessary, I'm going to keep this to myself.
okay. So, Chrysalix kind of falls over on the ground next to you, not like reverently like he's bowing to you, but just in order to be able to speak to you.
Right.
And Chrysalix whispers in your ear and says, kind of gets up next to you and whispers, I have known Topher since he was a child. He doesn't know me. He doesn't remember those days. I'm here to... been following him for years. Watching out for him. He's alive today because of me. So, based off the conversation that you have heard, that would be the revealing factor as to why their paths were entwined longer than he would know.
So Hamilton drinks that in, and he understands that that's very important to Topher and the group, and he asks him back, does this mean that you will be following us?
He kind of like had his head back, bowed, waiting for your response, as I'm imagining that's kind of how you wanted him to handle this. And he kind of looks back up and says, I will not be following, as Topher has you all to help keep him safe at this point. I will be, as I said, traveling to discover what we can about the rest of the remaining seals. So that way, now him being under charmed person, you take that to be 100% truth. So
As this is going on, you guys are talking. Like, I'm laying there on the floor and I kind of like look up at an angle and see like little mischievous fucking Hamilton over there doing something weird. So I do one of those little things where you're laying down and you kind of put all your weight onto your back and then you push off your hands to kick yourself onto your feet. And I kind of walk over toward them just to kind of try to get a feel for what's going on. I'd like to just maybe even have me roll for it, just a visual assessment of like anything that I might be able to pick up off of context clues or, like his reaction to what.
I like that
something
a
like
lot. Make a perception check, or actually make an investigation check, because you're aware that something's going on. You want to see what you can discover about it.
That's a good roll.
Yeah, it's 15. I have a -1 on investigation.
Okay, no, that's no problem. So with a 15, you're able to tell that, obviously I'm imagining that Hamilton kind of cast charm person kind of under his breath. Like, he didn't want everyone to know this was like what exactly was going on. But with the 15, you're able to surmise that Hamilton definitely did something to make this a reality, and you can't hear what's being said. You can hear that there's a lot of whispering going on back and forth, and you're able to tell that Hamilton is kind of directing the conversation, like as he's leading it. So with a 15, I would say that you're able to definitively surmise that Hamilton is asking questions and that Chrysalix is answering them.
So does that also give me like I remember Chrysalix and the visual descriptions that we've had of him in the past, and him bearing the infinity symbol of Mishkal. So is there anything else about Chrysalix that I can just know about in general? Just some general high level stuff.
Other than what that you have,
like anything that he might have on him, or just his visual appearance.
So you just kind of want to get a gauge of like what he's wearing. What's
just
going on
anything
with him?
like that. Just to kind of understand a little bit more.
Okay.
I might just need a refresher. I know these things. I just don't know them.
No, that's fine. So Chrysalix is an elf. And elves remain in their prime for hundreds of years, and you don't know how old he is or anything, but he's in his prime. So he could be 70 years old. He could be 500 years old. Like you just don't know how old he is. Chrysalix is wearing a full suit of armor, but it's a leather armor set. You could tell that whatever he does, he prefers to move swiftly. He's wielding only a bow, is his only weapon that he has on his person.
Is it a special bow, or is it just real generic looking?
Based off what you can see, you can't tell anything special about it. It's just a bow. However, you recall the fact that whenever you were standing at the mountain, he was able to shoot the dragon with an arrow wreathed in flame from hundreds and hundreds of yards away. So whatever it is, whether it be magic or whether he's just really good with the bow, you know that the bow is something he's extremely proficient in regardless. So there would be no need, you perceive that there would be no other need for him to wield another weapon.
Do I notice any sort of special jewelry or any sort of garments that are really unique to what I would not be familiar with on a person?
So the only thing that you can see that's unique about the situation, other than the fact that a lot of his clothes have the infinity symbol emblazoned upon him, which you knew because of the story that Topher had told you about his past, you could tell that he's a dedicated Mishkal follower. There is a necklace that he wears, and in this necklace, it is there's a golden chain that hangs around his neck, and it's kind of tucked underneath of his garments, but the top of it's showing, and there's a necklace, and on that necklace it's clamped to a purple gem of some sort that is hanging around his neck. Now, whether that has any significance to you or not, you don't know, but you can see that about him. Other than that, there's nothing really different other than the fact that, his armor, his robes, things of that nature were all as they have been described before.
Okay. Sorry to derail what was going on there. I just wanted
No, that's good information to have.
So Hamilton notices Bartholonude kind of,
Prying.
looking their way, like trying to figure out exactly what's going on, and Hamilton begins to speak telepathically instead of verbally to Chrysalix, because I have that ability.
Okay.
And he asks him, if you find anything, do you have a way of finding where we are?
You just hear in your head, yes.
Is there anything I should be worried about with Topher?
He gives you not an emphatic no, but a no. As in he's known, you assume based on this answer, he's known Topher his entire life. And
yeah.
Or at least Topher's entire life, not his entire life, but he says no.
Okay.
You can, the way that I perceive that, therefore the way that Chrysalix perceived this is that you have no reason not to trust him.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming based off your skepticism about a lot of things is what the real question was. Like, do we have any reason not to trust him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will ask you one more question, and I will release you.
And this is still telepathically?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I will ask that you not mention any of this to the others. Is anyone else looking for Topher?
So he doesn't telepathically answer you. He looks up at you and nods his head yes.
He looks up.
He looks like he has his head like down.
He's a short motherfucker.
Well, he's kneeled down on the
Okay,
ground,
okay.
kneeled low, and he has his head down, facing the ground. And as you ask him this, he looks up at you, and he doesn't telepathically answer. He looks directly at you, and nods his head yes, with a very sinister look in his eye.
Okay. I release him from the charm, and now that he is not charmed, I put my hand on his shoulder, and I lean in close, and I whisper in his ear, and I tell him that we will keep him safe.
Okay. So Chrysalix obviously knows when charm person ends, you know that he's been charmed.
Right.
However, no harm came of him. He's kind of concerned about the information that he gave up, but he has no reason to believe that you're nothing but a friend to Topher, given that you guys have traveled together. So he kind of looks at you and he nods, and then he turns around and begins to walk away. So you guys were all standing here. I mean, you just learned a lot of information. To be quite frank, information I had not planned on revealing to this point.
Hell yeah, charm person.
So just before we move on from this, let me just continue on kind of like with an internal dialogue with Hamilton. So Hamilton wants to tell the others, especially Topher, about this, but he's not sure if now is the right time. And he has every intention of telling them and informing them of what he has just learned, but not right now.
Okay.
He wants to wait until the moment is right.
Now let me ask you a question, just based around that fact. So, given what as the DM, I might have a different take on Hamilton as what the listeners might, or what the rest of the party might. The way I'm kind of perceiving that is that is not normal for Hamilton. Like, he learned this information, and given the fact that you were raised as an orphan, you really only trust your brother. You know that potentially everyone could be against you, and you're just now learning to trust Bartholonude and Benedict, especially after what Chrysalix just told you. I would imagine that's a new feeling for you to want to give that information out, but the fact that you're holding on to it until the right moment, or when it may be beneficial for the party or you, is actually something relatively fresh for you, because normally that would be something you would hang on to for personal benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason that I am, choosing not to divulge it right now, I don't have anything to gain from this. If it potentially, like, if I felt like this knowledge, this information, I could use to my advantage down the road, then I wouldn't tell. I would keep this to myself for my own gain. But based on what he's told me, Topher is not a threat to me. He's not an enemy. I can trust him. So the only reason that I'm holding on to it, at least for the time being, is because I just don't think that with everything that has happened, that now is the right time to do that. Because like you said, for the longest time, I didn't have anybody at all. And then I had just my brother, and now I have, the whole party. And I can tell that this information would be like world shattering to Topher. Right. And with the events that have just unfolded, now is not the right time to give this information to him.
Okay. Now, I will say this about, and this is kind of like a character building point for Hamilton, that whenever you make that conscious decision to keep that information and hold on to it for when it would be beneficial to everyone versus just yourself, you feel as if there is a pull. The various dark symbols and things that are tattooed on your body, your connection with Cthulhu almost seems to grow a little bit deeper, and the power that you have and your magics that you have, you feel kind of more, not deeply connected to them, but as if you have a stronger desire to learn more, to to push deeper into them. They didn't empower you, but they are encouraging you to be empowered by them.
Now, the one thing that I do want to do is I want to go back to the others and call them all together.
Okay.
As all that was happening, I had, I'm assuming that we had gotten Aisha's body out.
So Aisha's body was pulled out of the dragon, kind of just to narratively explain how I imagine that happening, was pulled out of the dragon just long enough to find that she was not breathing and she had been, in fact, dead.
Okay. Well, what I am doing while all of this is happening is I'm gathering like stones to place around her body to like essentially make a burial site for her. Like that's what Topher is doing. He's gathering stones to like cover her body.
Okay.
To keep like the animals and things away from her.
Okay. So, where do you guys want to take this? So, I mean, it's just Chrysalix has just walked on. You can kind of still see him in the distance as he's getting smaller and smaller on the horizon. And, you know, the sky is dark. It's gray. There's clouds all over the place. There's still smoldering meteors laying around you guys. The earth is still in the aftermath of this earthquake. You guys can
still on fire?
On fire? No, they're not on fire anymore. No.
Okay.
So you still have the abilities of like the staff that get like all the abilities you've gained in the past, but your hands are no longer inflamed.
So I could still. Okay. So as I'm walking back towards them, and I'm getting ready to call all of them together, and I've just gotten this news from Chrysalix, and I see Topher gathering rocks and stacking rocks around and on top of Aisha's body. I want to walk over and, reach up and pull on his tunic or whatever it is that I can reach to and kind of move him to the side and then imbue her body in flames.
And as you start to walk over there, I kind of noticed that we're doing kind of a ceremonial thing for Aisha. And I kind of wanted to do this a little before she's entirely covered in stone, because I'm assuming that he's taking stones, kind of just making a mound kind of out in this little field. So as part of Aisha's body is still exposed, I walk over to her and kneel by her face and lean down near her where her neck meets her ear, and I whisper to her corpse, "It's a better place for you." And I reach into my knapsack and I pull out the water skin that has the imbued water from the fire mountain, and I pour it down into her throat.
All right, so I'm going to kind of go into my version of the narrative explanation of what I think is going on, and then people correct me if I'm wrong. So you guys had kind of dragged Aisha's body out of the wound of the belly of the beast, had kind of pulled her away from that because you guys all kind of felt that, regardless of the things that she'd done, the sins that she had committed, you guys were well aware that this wasn't her. Like, she was under control, especially Vicewine, and Vicewine was very connected to the mistake that she had made because he had made the same mistake. So Vicewine had kind of helped you guys pull her about as far away from the dragon as he could, because he didn't want her to have any connection to this. And
we wanted to get her body far enough away to give her a proper burial.
Right.
But obviously it's going to be associated with this dragon because we're not going to be able to get rid of this dragon's corpse. But we wanted to get her body far enough away to give her the burial that she deserved as a dragonborn. Because Christopher, even though he doesn't know and doesn't remember much of his past, he can only assume that these dragonborns have a certain ritual that they would do for their deceased. And having her body so close to an actual dragon might have been some kind of maybe negatively affected her in the afterlife.
Okay. So as you guys had poured stone all around the body of Aisha's body of Aisha, before you guys had covered her head, her shoulders and her head were still exposed, and Weisswein and Topher are working to push the stone around her as to create kind of like an altar. Bartholonude, you come up and kind of hold her mouth open, and you lean down and you whisper in her ear, and you kind of put your hand on her chin and open up her mouth and pour this water into her mouth. And Bartholonude, go ahead and make a Arcana check.
I think it's 7.
And that's with your modifiers and everything?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you open up her mouth and pour this into her mouth, and whenever you do this, you see that this water, as it hits the back of her mouth, it just kind of slowly starts to pour down her throat, and it just kind of disappears. There was really no effect, as you would assume that the water, as it was, imbued with this fiery magic, had no effect on her golden body, because regardless of the fact that she was dead, that golden dragons are immune to fire.
So Hamilton's attempt to set her body on fire, to burn her body, to keep the creatures away from her, did that have any effect?
So
well, as I noticed that the water doesn't really do anything. To Bartholonude, that kind of puts his heart at ease that she has passed, because throughout all of our exposure to what this water has done to living things, making trees big and seeing its effect as we poured it into Hamilton's mouth. And even having some myself and feeling that enthralling feeling, it just confirms the fact that there's no life left in her.
This pretty much destroys Topher, watching him, because in Topher's mind, it's Bartholonude attempting to bring her back, and when it doesn't work, it tears him up. He's seeing somebody try to bring somebody back that was loved, that was a part of his life, and it's to the point to where he doesn't know how to take it so bad that he turns around and walks away from the whole scene.
Benedict is unaffected.
Weird.
No,
so you've been relatively quiet this entire...
My life's objective has been Lokar, and the fact that he killed mine and Hamilton's mothers, it's too much.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, especially because this has been the first time that
I've ever actually seen him in person,
and that something that he has done has directly impacted people that you care about.
Yeah, and Hamilton and I have spent years slaying his servants and the people who follow him, and I'm just ready to decapitate him.
Yeah, so I mean, I can imagine that after like years and years of like hunting people down, that trying to find him and killing people, and the fact that he shows up and he's very melancholy about the whole situation, and it hasn't seemed to have affected him at all.
Yeah.
So it's almost like
all for naught.
An insult to you, and the fact that he's here and he took someone that has such a profound effect on what you are currently trying to accomplish, as well as seemingly assisting Baal's return to this world. It totally makes sense that Benedict would be completely honed in on this fact and very distracted.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I do feel remorse for them and how they lost, or how Bartholonude lost his former lover, I guess. But that being said, I'm ready to move forward.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah, Benedict is ready to move forward.
Right, absolutely. What's up?
So I know Firebolt, and it's a cantrip. And the reason that I know it, because it's a mage spell, is because I have the Grimoire of Shadows. Or Book of Shadows. It's a grimoire called the Book of Shadows. And it lets me learn additional cantrips that are not like Warlock inherent. One of those being Firebolt. So how I think we should move forward with this is that basically, you know, we can have whatever dialogue that we want to have, but I want to take out this book that no one has ever seen. Right?
Okay.
I keep it like very secret and tear out the page with the knowledge of how to cast Firebolt and burn the page to burn the body. And I'll lose that ability. I'll lose that knowledge, that spell. I will never be able to cast it again, but it will allow me to burn the body.
Okay, so you're saying that since her body can't be burned because she's a golden, that
I'll call on Cthulhu and sacrifice
His ability for that
this
spell.
knowledge.
so Hamilton, I guess.
Well,
I want to hear, like, because like up to this point there hasn't been an explanation of like why you were doing this, but there's been the description of like how you've kind of involved in what's going on as far from an emotional standpoint, and you've definitively been affected by like your time with the party. So like what was your reasoning or idea for doing this? Was it just because like the profound effect you see it has on Weisswein and Bartholonude, and even Topher, or what exactly drove you to make this level of a sacrifice to be so kind as to put to rest someone from their past permanently?
so it's basically, you know, it harkens back to what I touched on earlier, that, you know, growing up, I was an orphan. I didn't have anybody else. It was just me. I had to fend for myself. And then I found my brother, and for a long time, it was just he and I. But I would say that this is probably the first time that Hamilton has ever had anything that resembled family. So a lot of his mindset is changing.
Okay.
So he's, you know, this is kind of, it's him not thinking about himself for once.
Awesome. No, I love that. I love it. No, that's cool.
Character building.
Weird.
So can you go ahead
And-
and give me a little bit of a narrative as
Yeah.
to what's going on? So I would imagine what's happening is that Weisswein and Bartholonude is, after Bartholonude whispers in Aisha's ear, and they continue, and Bartholonude, it doesn't work, and you kind of mentally, like that moment, mentally accept that she is passed. She is no
And
longer.
you can like anybody with any sort of personal skills can probably see that in my caricature, that my head is lofting, I'm still leaning over her body, and I know that nothing happened. And even though I didn't really want to embrace her when I first saw her, you know, she still was someone that I once cared a lot about. And seeing her go away, it weighs heavy.
So Hamilton walks up, and he places his hand on Bartholonude's back, and he says, "Brother, have you said your goodbyes?"
And I stand up, and my halberd in hand, and I kind of turn my back to Aisha, and I look down to the ground, and I say yes.
So Hamilton takes off his knapsack and places it on the ground, unbuckles it and opens it, and pulls out a comically large book that just looks like it shouldn't even fit in the knapsack at all, and it's nearly as tall as he is. And he places it on the ground, and he opens it up, and it flips to a page on its own. And he reaches down, and his hand hovers over the page and stays there for a second, trembling. And he rips the page out, crumples it up in his hand, tosses it onto the pile of rocks that are covering her, mutters a few indecipherable words under his breath, and the corpse erupts into a pyre. So all of us are watching the fires burn, and as we turn to move on, I gather everyone around, and I let them know a little bit about what Chrysalix divulged to me earlier. Friends, we need to be on our guard more than ever. There are others that are looking for us on our journeys, and they seek to stop us. So we must be vigilant.
It is concerning that through all of our good faith for the positive of Faerun, that we still have not progressed in a positive way toward our goal.
Have we not?
With this seal broken, it is yet another step toward Baal and all of the mayhem that he follows.
It was under our understanding, though, that we were doing the right thing. I don't think that placing the blame on us for breaking a seal is necessary, because I thought we were doing the right thing.
It was my blind rage. How could I have been so pitiful?
Enough. We have plenty of other chances to stop the seals.
But we
being broken.
don't know how many seals have been broken so far. This could be close to the last one.
Even if we stop just one, that is enough.
This wasn't one. We've broken one.
We broke one, yes. But as I said, there are plenty of chances for us to succeed, and we will succeed.
We must remain on high guard.
Yes.
I have let my emotions toil with the lives of everyone in Faerun, and I will not let it happen again.
It won't.
You do not know that it will not. But what we can do together is to make sure that it does not happen again.
Exactly.
You're just full of wisdom, young dwarf.
I'm proficient in wisdom.
Friends, from what we know of Baal, if he truly wants to come to this world and end it, he will show his face.
Will he? Will he show his face?
And if he does, we will kill him.
I think we should focus on making sure these other seals aren't broken, because I feel like facing him head on will be a lot more difficult.
I agree with you, Topher. We should try to stop him. But if we fail to, it is not something that we should dwell on.
I agree.
I want it to be known that for this cause, I will give my life.
Well, hopefully, that won't be necessary.
I agree. I believe that after everything that's happened today and the past couple days, I believe that we should rest here and head back into town to resupply. We've been out for a few days. We need to.
That is a fantastic idea. We should rest in this flaming field with asteroids falling out of the sky.
The asteroids have
I'm
stopped.
very
Have you? Do
comfortable
you
here.
not see that? The asteroids have stopped.
It's very warm. It's comfy here. Let's pitch a tent. Fuck it.
We can move
My
towards.
tent is perpetually pitched.
We know. It's the tiniest tent I've ever seen. We should
Sit on it.
make camp and rest tonight and head into town in the morning.
I could most certainly use an ale.
So, as you guys are having this conversation, Vicewine steps up and walks over to you, Topher, and he grabs the keys that are hanging off your belt loop, and he says, "I saw these were given to you by Chrysalix. What are these? Explain these keys."
I took them. The keys. I don't know what they are. I took them, and I am going to keep a hold of them.
Where did you get them?
Chrysalix. He had them. I took them. They are under my keeping now. You'll keep your hands off of these keys.
So Vicewine kind of like steps back as he's not trying to like cause any shit or anything. He kind of takes a step back and he says, "What are they for?"
Obviously opening something.
Hamilton's correct. I don't know what they're for, but I have them now, and I'm going to keep them safe.
Are they your keys? Chrysalix give them to, did he tell you what they were for? Where did he get them?
Why does it matter?
You didn't have them in the battle. I saw them.
Yes, Chrysalix gave them to me.
Where did he get them?
I didn't have a chance to ask him. I took them, and I am guarding them with my life. I don't know what they're for, but they have to have some kind of significance to what we are doing. And I'm going to keep them safe, and if you have a problem with that, that's your issue.
I think you're kind of misreading his...
Do you know Francis?
I know of Francis. I saw her earlier get taken by some powerful thing from a portal.
When the man came through the portal and took Francis, there were keys that were left that Chrysalix picked up and gave to me. They came from Francis, so they are important.
It is wise to hold on to such relics, especially in times when magic and deceit can be used against us. Keeping these items may be pivotal to our future success.
Yes, and if Francis thought they were important enough to drop before she went into another dimension, then I will keep them safe, because they are of utmost importance.
Topher.
Hamilton.
I think we should be cautious of these keys.
I do not disagree.
We don't know for sure if these keys came from Francis or if they came from my father.
Regardless of where they came from, small one, we need to keep them.
You really are a cunt, aren't you?
Big cunt. Big cunt.
We need to keep these keys safe. We need to keep them at our side at all time. We cannot let them fall into anybody else's hands, because for good or for evil, we need to figure out what they are for.
So we're talking about this, and kind of while we're talking about this, I just kind of wanted to walk over, and I know he has these keys on him, so I just want to cast Divine Sense on the keys. And as an action, you can detect good and evil.
So you kind of are glaring at these keys, and you kind of like tone everything else out. And as you kind of like really focus on them, you get an overwhelming sense that there is a good cause to this, but there is a underlying feeling that there is some kind of perpetuating evil. So you're very mixed about what you're feeling. It's overwhelmingly good at first, but it's almost like you describe like an aftertaste of evil.
I would like to investigate.
So it's like Jaeger.
Yes. I want to investigate the keys to see if I notice any symbols about them.
Topher, will you show me the keys? I would like to take a closer look at them. Try to get a better idea.
Still tied, still attached to my waist on my belt. I grab them and hold them in my hand, but I do not take them off my belt. I don't want to let them out of... I'm not taking them off to where somebody could just take them.
And it might not have been made aware, because Divine Sense is kind of an internal thing that happens within Bartholonude. So you all might not be aware of the sense
Hamilton.
that I got from that sense. So I kind of, as this is happening, I kind of walk over and, with the disposition of careful intent, I kind of just try to assure Topher that I'm not trying to do anything weird. I look down at the keys, and I kind of look up at him and over at the other members of our party, and I just say, I am unknowing of what the intention of these keys are, but I can tell you that they will unlock doors.
Or a lockbox.
Brilliant fucking deduction, dipshit.
All right.
Do you notice anything about palm trees on these keys?
Good roll.
That was a great roll.
Is it a 2 or something?
That's a 9.
All right. So
while he has these out, I would also like to walk over and take a look at them as well to try to figure out if they have any like magic imbued in them.
Okay, so you can make an Arcana check, and while you're doing that, I'll kind of give the background on what Benedict saw.
14.
Okay, so Benedict, with a 9, you kind of look at these keys, and there are 2 separate keys hanging from this chain.
Oh.
One of them just looks like a normal key, and the other just has a different kind of like, I guess, unlocking mechanism, key shape.
A different cut.
Different cut of key. There we go. Sorry, dick face.
It's okay.
Different
You're
cut.
stupid.
A different cut of key. There's 2 different key cuts, and yeah, that's all you can really tell with a 9.
All right, cool. These are keys.
They will unlock doors.
Hamilton, with your Arcana check of 14, there is the first key on the chain. As Topher's holding them in his hand, they're kind of like spread out, where one key is laying kind of angular to the next, and the first key to the left side, you don't get anything off of it, but the other key, you notice that there is a slight bit of a magical aura to it. Very, very slight, but just something that you can tell is not a normal key.
Okay.
So.
Are they distinct enough that I would be able to know, like, do they have any markings on them so that I could...
So neither of them have any
inform
markings
Topher?
of them, but you notice that, actually make a perception check on that, so you could tell that one of them is magic, but kind of gauge the differences between them.
That's going to be a 13.
Okay, so with a 13, you can see that both the keys have the exact same shape, other than the fact that they have a distinct, different cut in them. But you notice that on the top of the second key, if they're both laying in his hand, the one on the right side of your view, the key where the head of the key is, they're not one. The first key is all one singular piece of metal. The second key is not.
Okay.
The second key has a small kind of gap in the top after the symbol on the top of the key. So.
Okay. So I want to reach up and, being very careful to not get too close to the keys because I can tell that Topher is kind of possessive over them, I want to point out the key that I can tell is somewhat magical to some degree.
Okay.
And just inform Topher, Topher, I think that this key right here might have a little more juice than the other. And then very slowly, I want to close his hand around the keys, push it back towards his waist, and say, keep these very careful, my friend.
Take heed to what Hamilton says, because I know that he knows a lot about dark magic. So I take them and I tuck them, like they're still attached to my belt, but I tuck them like into my tunic under my armor, where my belt like kind of overlaps where the front of my armor would open, and I tuck them inside of that to keep them hidden from plain sight. You can still see the loop on the outside, but the keys themselves are tucked inside of my like armor, like underneath. Cool.
That was terrifying.
A bear growls. Toe thumbs! Holy shit! There you are.
There he is. He's back.
What's up?
How long of a journey would it be to go back to town now?
Yeah, like how long would it take us to get back to like Neverwinter or the closest? I'm assuming Neverwinter would be like the closest town,
Or like any sort of little village, or really anything. I mean, can we?
We really need to kind of like resupply. We need to rest.
So there
That's what we
are
need to do. We've been on the road for fucking days now.
So there is a town that is very probably about 3 or 4 hours travel on the other side of Mount Hotenow, but it is it's not really much of a town. It's like a rundown, very desolate town. It's very close to the mountain. Not a lot of people want to live there. It's actually, why don't you all go ahead and give me a history check?
Oh, I think I get like advantage on this or something.
I do, because of my boots. Hell yeah.
Hold on.
That's an 18.
You're a history teacher.
Shiggity swoosh, 55.
Whoa.
No, it was a 9.
Would you like me to tell you
21.
Yeah, I get twice my proficiency bonus for history checks. Oh, no, but that's only for magic stuff. Never mind. Okay. 16.
All right. Hamilton, Benedict, and Topher know that on the other side of Mount Hottenau, a couple hours stride from where you guys are, there is a town called Gauntlgrim. Gauntlgrim is more of a graveyard than it is a town. You
There's
guys,
beer there, right?
you guys know there is no tavern, there is no merchants. There is nothing but a few people that live there trying to scrape together a living because they prefer to be alone.
So that's
Sounds like my
you have
people.
Gauntlgrim.
In the next closest town from there's a place called Morgul's or Morger's Mound, which is kind of like an established town. However, it is the same distance away as Neverwinter, which would be about a full day's travel.
I mean, I don't think that we should go to Gauntlgrim. I mean, there's nothing for us there.
It's also in the opposite direction.
We don't really know where we need to go.
If it's on the other side of the mountain, then
Well, yeah, but it's the same distance.
I guess.
It's actually closer, but I don't think that we should go to Gauntlgrim if it holds nothing as far as rest and people that might be upset that we're there because they just kind of want to be left alone.
That's fair.
And from what we know,
But it also might be the perfect place to lay low.
that is true. That is
Lay
very
low
true.
right beside where the asteroid just came in, where they probably are
it's-
witnessing this event.
Yeah, well, it's on the other side of the mountain.
Let's head to Neverwinter.
Let's go to Neverwinter.
It would be nice to sleep in my bed for a night.
Fuck your bed. Just kidding. I like your bed.
Whoa.
I feel like you guys have shared that bed. Quite
And
a bit.
now we learn things about Hamilton and Benedict we always suspected.
Wrong.
Expected.
Yeah, I'm down for Neverwinter though, for sure.
I think we should go somewhere where we're familiar, somewhere we can, if need be, we know where to go to hide. I think we should go back to Neverwinter because we're very familiar with the area and we know the nobleman is no longer in charge and we should probably see what is afoot there.
So you guys start heading back that way? It's about an 8-hour journey.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So you guys are traveling. It's around late evening at this point, and so you guys travel through the night to get to Neverwinter.
Yep, we hoof it.
All right,
Stop for pizza.
you hoof it, and just kind of do a little jump in time here. We don't have to narratively describe you guys traveling 8 hours. Are there any substantial conversation or topics that you guys think you would hit on, or any pieces of information you guys divulge to each other, or things that you want to bring up? Or I would imagine there's just a lot of discussion about things that have happened, and a lot of speculation as to where additional seals might be hidden and to what these are.
Hamilton,
What?
what was discussed between you and Chrysalix? I'm dying to know if he knows anything. Like, you haven't spoken a word of what he has said.
You're dying regardless, you old fuck. But
That's
if you
neither
must
here
know,
nor there.
if you must know, he warned me that we are being watched and followed and that we need to be on guard, which is more or less what I told you back there.
But is there anything else? I feel like you're keeping something from me.
And why would you feel that way?
Because you are you.
Well, that is fair.
Savage.
But even if I were, would you not trust me to tell you?
I do not trust you to really tell me much, but I feel like if it's something that you need to keep from me to, to make sure that we are all safe, then yes, I do trust you.
All right, then.
Okay. I hand him a fish that I had in my book bag. It's like 4 days old.
Is this like some kind of mafia thing or something?
No, it's just one of the ones that Hamilton had sat on and farted on, and
I've kept this safe for you.
Here's a fart fish. Enjoy. Tastes like ass.
But
All right.
I want to lean over to Hamilton while we're walking, and I want to be like,
Brother, I want to make sure your primary objective is still Lokar.
In the grand scheme of things,
I don't know what that means.
Told you were too stupid.
I don't expect that you will, brother.
Ouch.
I want revenge on our father as much as you do. But I want to have it at the right time. And I don't want to risk ruining it.
You're right, all right. As long as we're on the same page.
I don't think we are. I'm much further in the book than you are.
What book?
Exactly.
Student of the Book of Nature. This tree is my friend.
You can naturally suck these nuts.
I won't do that.
As they're having this conversation,
Very brotherly conversation.
yes, a very, very brotherly conversation, I want to place my hand on Bartholonude's shoulder and ask him if he is, how he's doing.
He's pretty tired.
Bartholonude, are you okay? Are you all right?
This journey has brought me much struggle.
As I can tell. I think we should stop here. How far? You say we're maybe halfway through this.
Yeah,
journey?
probably.
I think we should stop and make camp. I think we need to rest. We've been on the move for days. I think we need to stop, relax, and take in what's going on. We need to take a few hours to regain what energy we may have left. We need to recover a bit.
Without any hesitation, Bartholonude pulls out his bedroll.
It's like mid-conversation. Just like falls asleep in the middle of done. No objections to this?
Nope.
Hamilton puts a campfire in the middle of where we're at.
Cost bonfire?
Yeah.
Bonfire.
So as we're sitting around the fire, I kind of want to probe Hamilton again.
Probing. Now,
Not like I gotta move.
Bartholonude, you're snoring in the background, right?
He's snoring.
I think Weisswein is also probably passed out.
So we're okay. So we're sitting around this fire. Mm-hmm. We're all just getting ready to go down for the night.
No, Bartholonude and Weisswein are dead asleep already.
Oh, they're yeah. Well, yeah, I'm saying it's probably 8 p.m. They're done. Hamilton, what was that book that I saw you pulled out earlier? I've never seen that book on you before. Can somebody put a pillow over Bartholomews' face?
That book is very personal for me. It is not something that I like to bring out very often if I don't have to. I don't suspect that's a good enough answer.
Well, I mean, if that's all you want to tell me, that's fine. But that's not really what I was asking. What is it? I'm curious.
Well, you see, when a warlock pledges his allegiance to his god of choice, he is granted some sort of power. My case, that power was knowledge. And that knowledge that I was granted is contained within that book. And it is pivotal to my abilities and my combat effectiveness.
So you sacrificed a part of who you are as a warlock to help Aisha pass into the afterlife. That's very noble of you.
I suppose. Don't think I'll do it for you.
I will never die. And if I do, I'll be back.
The Austrian cleric.
I'll be back. So I just sit in silence now. I'm just around this fire. I'm just resting. I want to, finish up the night. That's all I had to say.
While we're having this discussion, Topher, I'm curious. When did you first meet Chrysalix?
It was just a few years ago. I woke up like what I had spoken of a couple nights ago, where he had me tied to a table. Mm-hmm. That's the first I remember meeting Chrysalix.
And you've never met him since?
Not since and not before that I can recall, no.
And your devotion to Mishkal,
Yes.
did it begin when you met him?
From what I can remember, yes. I don't have any recollection before I met Chrysalix. I don't remember anything from my past. When I woke up, I was 32, 30, somewhere in those years of age, and in the age of a human. And now I'm about 38, and it's only been about 6 years since I've awoken. Anything before that I do not recall. But since then, I have been a devoted follower of Mishkal.
I am concerned. Topher, have you ever had the feeling that you've been followed?
Not really, no. Not in a menacing sense, no.
Have you ever had the sensation that perhaps you were destined to be a part of something bigger?
I've had that feeling since I awoke. I've had a feeling that there was something about my life, with my life, that I am supposed to do that is greater than what I can perceive.
I think that you might be right.
I would hope so, because if not, then helping you and your brother and Bartholonude will be for naught.
Well, let us hope that is not the case.
Yes.
D&D Kinda is brought to you by Skull Splitter Dice, Elderwood Academy, and RPG Sounds Fantasy.